In August 1944, northern France trembles under Allied momentum. From Normandy, beachheads 1st Army, led by Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges, and 3rd Army under Lieutenant General George Patton, surge eastward, smashing German defences after Operation Cobra. By mid-August, the pursuit spans 200 miles in weeks, tearing past shattered hedgerows toward the Seine. The number that matters is 800,000 gallons of gasoline demanded daily by late August to keep tanks and trucks moving. French railways destroyed by pre-invasion airstrikes lie unusable. Channel ports such as Cherbourg remain damaged or contested, forcing supply lines to stretch overland from Normandy depots. Congested roads and long hauls strain the United States Army's Quartermaster Corps. Without fuel and ammunition, the advance risks halting, leaving divisions stranded short of the German border. German generals observing from fortified headquarters expect this logistical collapse, anticipating Allied spearheads will stall. Their own rail-dependent supply system, though battered, still operates behind the front. The United States Army responds with a bold plan, a priority truck convoy system called the Red Ball Express to bridge the gap. On 25 August 1944, it begins with 132 truck companies and 5,958 vehicles, moving 12,342 tons of cargo in a single peak day. This surge of materiel, driven by resolve and gasoline, aims to sustain the pursuit across a devastated theatre. The Normandy breakout in late July 1944 unleashes a torrent of Allied armour and infantry racing across northern France. 1st Army and 3rd Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges and Lieutenant General George Patton push toward the Seine, outpacing their supply lines. French railways, crippled by Allied air interdiction, cannot deliver the 800,000 gallons of gasoline needed daily by late August to sustain the advance. Ports remain choked or contested, and road networks battered by war clog with military traffic. The United States Army faces a stark choice: halt the pursuit or find a new way to deliver fuel, ammunition, and rations. On 25 August 1944, the Red Ball Express activates a controlled one-way truck corridor designed to bypass wrecked infrastructure. From depots near Saint-Lô, the system funnels cargo through Chartres and Dreux toward forward dumps west of the Seine, prioritizing speed and volume. 132 truck companies operating 5,958 vehicles form its backbone. In its first 5 days, the corridor moves 12,342 tons of cargo at its peak, a staggering output for a theatre without functioning rail lines. The operation hinges on precision and scale. Military police enforce one-way routes, maintaining 25-mile-per-hour speed limits and 60-yard intervals between trucks. Drivers navigate at night using cat-eye lights. Cargo prioritizes petroleum oil and lubricants, followed by artillery, ammunition, rations, and critical spares. Each truck, typically a 2.5-ton General Motors Corporation model, carries 2.5 tons, with some hauling trailers to increase capacity. The constraint is road endurance. Tires wear out after 10,000 miles on rough French roads. Maintenance crews work roadside, cannibalizing wrecked vehicles to keep the fleet moving. The system demands relentless tempo. About 900 vehicles are on the route at any given time, running day and night. German generals analyzing reports from their retreating forces scoff at the audacity. Their own logistics, tethered to railheads and horse-drawn carts, struggle to match this road-based flexibility under constant Allied air attacks. Most Red Ball drivers come from African American Transportation Corps units, a segregated force within the United States Army. These men, often denied combat roles, shoulder the burden of supply under grueling conditions. 2 driver crews alternate shifts, grabbing sleep and meals in brief halts. Fatigue builds as convoys roll through rain and mud, dodging craters and occasional German stragglers. Military police checkpoints ensure discipline, but the real test is endurance. Drivers log hundreds of miles daily on damaged roads with no margin for delay. The German perspective shifts as reports filter back. Allied trucks seem endless, their flow unbroken despite damaged bridges. The Red Ball's early success buys time for the pursuit, keeping Patton's tanks fueled and Hodges' artillery stocked. By 24 August 1944, First Army alone consumed 782,000 gallons of gasoline in a single day, a demand met only by this improvised lifeline. The operation's scale exposes German miscalculations about Allied logistical reach, setting the stage for deeper advances into France. The Red Ball Express, launched on 25 August 1944, surges across northern France, sustaining the Allied pursuit after the Normandy breakout. First Army, led by Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges, and Third Army under Lieutenant General George Patton, drive toward the Seine, their tanks and infantry dependent on a relentless flow of supplies. The corridor, stretching from Saint-Lô through Chartres and Dreux, delivers 12,342 tons, on 29 August 1944, at its peak, carried by 5,958 vehicles. These trucks, mostly 2.5-ton General Motors Corporation models, haul fuel, ammunition and rations over damaged roads, bypassing ruined French railways. The operation's scale, about 900 vehicles are on the route at any given time, demands a human backbone, and the majority of its drivers are African-American soldiers from segregated transportation corps units. These men, barred from most combat roles, navigate a high-stakes gauntlet to keep the advance alive. Each convoy operates under strict control. Military police enforce one-way routes, 25-mile-per-hour speed limits and 60-yard intervals to prevent congestion. Blackout driving, guided by faint cat-eye lights, was used at night, with Luftwaffe activity on the routes limited. Two-man crews rotate shifts, one steering, while the other rests in brief halts, often no more than a few hours. Sleep and meals are scarce. Drivers subsist on rations grabbed between runs. The constraint is relentless fatigue. Crews log up to 20 hours daily behind the wheel. Roadside maintenance keeps the fleet moving, with mechanics addressing rapid tire wear and swapping parts from wrecked trucks. German stragglers and occasional artillery fire add danger, though Allied air superiority limits Luftwaffe raids. Drivers face cratered roads, mud and breakdowns, yet the corridor holds, delivering 800,000 gallons of gasoline daily by late August to fuel the pursuit. The African-American drivers, despite their critical role, operate in a segregated army. Assigned to transportation corps units, they receive little recognition at the time, their service overshadowed by racial policies. Yet, their performance is undeniable. They move the majority of the Red Ball's tonnage, ensuring Patton's Third Army and Hodges' First Army remain operational. German staff assessments underestimated the road-based flexibility of the American system compared to their own reliance on rail and horse transport. The Wehrmacht, reliant on rail and horse-drawn transport, struggles to reposition under Allied air attacks, while the Red Ball's flexibility exposes their rigidity. Drivers, often under fire or threat, maintain the tempo, their endurance, a quiet rebuttal to German assumptions about Allied logistical limits. The operation's rhythm is grueling but effective. Convoys roll day and night, with military police checkpoints ensuring discipline. Drivers learn to spot sabotage, cut telephone lines or mined bridges, and report threats via radio. Maintenance halts are frantic, with crews swapping engines or axles under time pressure. The Red Ball's early weeks prove its viability, delivering artillery shells, rations, and critical spares alongside fuel. By early September, the corridor adapts to the advance, extending drops toward forward dumps west of the Seine. The driver's resilience, paired with the system's scale, keeps the pursuit from stalling, even as German defenses consolidate along river lines. The Red Ball Express, driven by men working beyond exhaustion, becomes the artery of the Allied advance, challenging the German belief that logistics would halt the Americans short of their borders. By early September 1944, the Red Ball Express pulses across northern France, fueling the Allied pursuit toward the German border. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges and Third Army, led by Lieutenant General George Patton, cross the Seine, pressing German forces towards successive river lines. The corridor, initially anchored at Saint-Lô, now stretches beyond Chartres and Dreux, reaching forward dumps near Soissons and Hirson for First Army and Somersus for Third Army. 5,958 trucks, manned by 132 companies, deliver 800,000 gallons of gasoline daily at peak, alongside artillery shells and rations. This output, peaking at 12,342 tons in a single day, sustains the advance, despite wrecked French railways and contested ports. As the front widens, the Red Ball adapts, extending its routes to match the Army's eastward surge, but the strain of distance and terrain tests its limits. The corridor's expansion demands constant improvisation. New depots and refuel points emerge as the Seine and Marne rivers are crossed with engineers rushing to repair bridges under German artillery fire. Trucks now travel up to 200 miles round-trip, navigating cratered roads and autumn rains that turn dirt tracks to mud. The constraint is vehicle wear. Maintenance crews, often African-American mechanics from the same segregated units as the drivers, work roadside, swapping parts from cannibalized trucks to keep the fleet rolling. Military police maintain one-way traffic, enforcing 60-yard intervals and 25-mile-per-hour limits, while drivers endure night movements using cat-eye lights. The tempo remains brutal. About 900 vehicles are on the route at any given time, with two-man crews rotating shifts to combat fatigue. German stragglers and occasional Luftwaffe raids threaten convoys, but Allied air cover minimizes losses, allowing the Red Ball to maintain its flow. German commanders observing from fortified positions begin to falter in their earlier confidence. German staff assumptions that American road logistics would stall proved wrong, as the Red Ball's flexibility outpaced their rail and horse-dependent system. While German divisions struggle to reposition, Patton's Third Army exploits the steady stream of fuel and ammunition pushing toward Metz. First Army, consuming 782,000 gallons of gasoline on 24 August 1944, maintains pressure toward Verdun. The Red Ball's ability to deliver across extended distances upends German expectations of a logistical collapse, forcing their staff to rethink defensive plans as the Allies close on the German frontier. The human cost of this expansion grows. African-American drivers, the backbone of the operation, face mounting exhaustion, logging 20-hour days on treacherous roads. Segregated units, denied equal recognition, shoulder the majority of the tonnage, their service critical yet under-acknowledged. Sleep comes in snatches at halts. Meals are cold rations gulped between runs. Roadside repairs often under threat of sniper fire test mechanics' ingenuity as spare parts dwindle and improvisation becomes standard. The Red Ball's success hinges on these men, whose resilience ensures the corridor's output. By mid-September, the system's flexibility allows it to adapt to shifting fronts, with new routes opening as engineers clear river crossings. The operation's scale and adaptability keep the pursuit alive, proving that American logistics, far from breaking, can sustain a blitz across a devastated theater, challenging German assumptions with every mile gained. By mid-September 1944, the Red Ball Express drives the Allied pursuit deeper into France, defying German expectations of a logistical collapse. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges presses toward Verdun, while Third Army, led by Lieutenant General George Patton, surges toward Metz. The supply corridor, now stretching from Saint-Lô past the Seine to forward, dumps near Soissons, Hirson and Sompsous, delivers 800,000 gallons of gasoline daily at its peak. 132 truck companies operating 5,958 vehicles maintain a punishing tempo. About 900 vehicles are on the route at any given time across one-way routes. The operation's early peak of 12,342 tons in a single day underscores its capacity to sustain the advance over wrecked infrastructure. As autumn mud thickens and German resistance stiffens, the Red Ball's adaptability and scale become the hinge of Allied momentum, shattering the Wehrmacht's confidence in a stalled enemy. The corridor's operation is a marvel of controlled chaos. Military police enforce strict discipline, maintaining 25-mile-per-hour speed limits and 60-yard intervals to prevent jams on cratered roads. Drivers, mostly African-American soldiers from segregated transportation corps units, conduct night movements using cat-eye lights, with Luftwaffe activity on the routes limited, dodging debris and occasional enemy fire. Two-man crews rotate shifts, but rest is fleeting. Sleep often limited to brief halts in muddy layovers. The constraint is tire durability. 10,000 miles is the limit on rough French roads. Mechanics patch vehicles, roadside scavenging parts from wrecks to keep convoys moving. Fuel artillery, ammunition rations, and engineer stores flow eastward with Third Army's tanks relying on the steady stream to maintain their blitz. The German High Command, entrenched behind river lines, watches with growing unease. The Red Ball's success lies in its ability to scale with the advance. As First Army and Third Army cross the Marne and approach the Moselle, new depots and refuel points extend the corridor's reach. Engineers rush to repair bridges under sporadic artillery fire, ensuring trucks can cross rivers to supply forward units. The operation adapts to worsening conditions. Autumn rains turn roads to quagmires, slowing convoys and spiking maintenance demands. Yet the drivers press on, delivering critical tonnage despite fatigue and danger. German logistics, by contrast, falter under Allied air interdiction. Railheads vital to Wehrmacht mobility are bombed relentlessly, and horse-drawn carts cannot match the Red Ball's speed or volume. The Allies' road-based system, flexible and resilient, exposes the rigidity of German supply chains which struggle to support retreating divisions. Patton's Third Army, fueled by the corridor's output, exploits this gap, pushing German forces back toward their own borders. The human toll of the Red Ball mounts as the campaign lengthens. African-American drivers denied recognition in a segregated army endure 20-hour shifts, their endurance critical to the operation's success. They face not only physical strain, but also the psychological weight of operating under threat. Sniper fire mines and Luftwaffe raids, though rare, remain risks. Roadside repairs grow frantic as spare parts dwindle, forcing mechanics to improvise with scavenged components. The corridor's output, totaling hundreds of thousands of tons by October, keeps the pursuit alive, but at a cost to the men who drive it. German generals, once dismissive of American logistics, now recalculate. The Red Ball's relentless flow ensures that First Army and Third Army maintain pressure, compressing German defenses and delaying their ability to regroup. By late September, the operation's success redefines the theater's logistical reality, proving that American ingenuity and resolve can overcome the chaos of a war-torn landscape. By October 1944, the Red Ball Express strains under the weight of its own success, sustaining the Allied pursuit across northern France. First Army, led by Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges, and Third Army under Lieutenant General George Patton, pushed toward the German border, their advance fueled by a corridor stretching from Saint-Lô to Verdun and Metz. 5,958 trucks operated by 132 companies deliver 800,000 gallons of gasoline daily at peak, alongside ammunition and rations. The operation's early surge, moving 12,342 tons in a single day, keeps the armies rolling despite shattered railways. But autumn's rains and extended distances test the system's limits. Muddy roads, vehicle breakdowns, and mounting fatigue threaten to slow the convoys, even as German defenses harden along the Moselle and beyond. The Red Ball, driven by African-American soldiers in segregated units, must evolve to maintain its critical flow. The corridor's routes, now spanning hundreds of miles, face worsening conditions. Rain turns unpaved tracks into quagmires, bogging down 2.5-ton General Motors Corporation trucks. Military police enforce one-way traffic, 25-mile-per-hour speed limits, and 60-yard intervals, but mud and craters disrupt schedules. The constraint is heavy use, forcing frequent overhauls. Mechanics often working in the open patch trucks with scavenged parts, as supply depots struggle to provide spares. Drivers navigate night movements using cat-eye lights, with Luftwaffe activity on the routes limited, dodging debris and rare German ambushes. Two-man crews rotate shifts, but exhaustion deepens. Drivers log 20-hour days with sleep snatched in brief muddy halts. The Red Ball's tempo, with about 900 vehicles on the route at any given time, remains relentless, delivering fuel shells and rations to keep Patton's tanks and Hodges' artillery firing. German observers, entrenched in fortified positions, note the strain but remain stunned by the system's persistence. The operation adapts to survive. New routes open as engineers bridge rivers, extending drops to forward dumps near Verdun for First Army and Metz for Third Army. The restoration of French railways, slowly repaired under Allied control, begins to absorb some cargo, easing the burden on trucks. Inland pipelines gradually extended from Normandy supplement fuel deliveries, reducing the Red Ball's gasoline load. Yet the trucks remain vital, carrying artillery ammunition and rations that rail and pipe cannot yet handle. African-American drivers, the operations core, endure the harshest conditions their segregated units, delivering the majority of the tonnage without fanfare. Their resilience counters German expectations of a logistical collapse as the Wehrmacht's own rail-bound supply system falters under Allied airstrikes. Horse-drawn German columns, slow and vulnerable, cannot match the Red Ball's flexibility, leaving their divisions outmaneuvered. By mid-November 1944, the corridor's cumulative output reaches 412,193 tons, a testament to its scale and endurance. The human cost grows stark. Drivers face not only mud and breakdowns, but also the psychological toll of relentless schedules and occasional enemy fire. Sniper attacks and mines, though infrequent, add danger to already treacherous routes. Mechanics, under pressure to keep trucks moving, improvise repairs in the rain, often without proper tools. The Red Ball's success hinges on these men, whose segregated status denies them equal recognition but not responsibility. As the front stabilizes along German defensive lines, the corridor's role shifts. Rail repairs and port openings, including Antwerp's gradual restoration, signal a transition. The Red Ball, designed as a temporary expedient, begins to wind down its mission, nearing completion. German generals, once confident in Allied overreach, now face a compressed front, their forces unable to exploit the logistical strain they anticipated. The Red Ball's adaptability, driven by the grit of its drivers and the ingenuity of its planners, ensures the pursuit retains momentum, setting the stage for the campaign's final phase. By early November 1944, the Red Ball Express nears its end, its mission etched into the Allied advance across northern France. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges and Third Army led by Lieutenant General George Patton pressed German forces toward their border, sustained by a supply corridor that defied collapse. Stretching from Saint-Lô to Verdun and Metz, the operation's 5,958 trucks delivered 412,193 tons of cargo by its close. At its peak on 29 August, it moved 12,342 tons in a single day, with fuel demand reaching about 800,000 gallons per day in late August. As French railways recover and Antwerp begins receiving convoys on 28 November 1944, the Red Ball's role diminishes. On 16 November 1944, the corridor terminates its load, shifting to rail pipelines and coastal shipping. The operation's legacy, however, endures as a testament to logistical ingenuity and the unheralded service of African-American drivers. The final weeks test the system's resilience. Autumn rains churn roads into mud, slowing convoys and spiking breakdowns. 2.5-ton trucks under heavy use, requiring frequent overhauls, demand constant repairs. Mechanics, often African-American soldiers from segregated units, work in freezing conditions, scavenging parts to keep the fleet moving. Drivers enduring 20-hour shifts navigate night routes using cat-eye lights with Luftwaffe activity on the routes limited, maintaining 60-yard intervals under military police oversight. Despite these challenges, the Red Ball delivers, supporting Patton's Blitz toward Metz and Hodges' push toward Aachen. German commanders retreating behind fortified lines grapple with the failure of their logistical predictions. The Wehrmacht's rail and horse-drawn supply lines, crippled by Allied airstrikes, cannot match this road-based agility. The operation's closure reflects a shifting theatre. By November, repaired French railways handle bulk cargo, and pipelines extend fuel from Normandy to the front. Antwerp begins operations in late November, boosting supply throughput, reducing reliance on overland trucks. The Red Ball, designed as a stopgap, achieves its purpose, delivering enough materiel to maintain momentum through late summer and autumn. Its cumulative output, 412,193 tons, ensures First Army and Third Army compress German defences, denying them time to regroup before winter. The African-American drivers, who moved the majority of this tonnage, remain the operation's unsung backbone. In a segregated army, their service, often overlooked, proves critical, their endurance under grueling conditions enabling the pursuit's success. German assumptions of Allied overreach, once a source of confidence, lie shattered by the Red Ball's relentless flow. The Red Ball Express becomes a case study in military logistics, demonstrating how road transport can substitute for rail in a devastated theatre. Its legacy extends beyond numbers, highlighting the contributions of African American soldiers who, despite systemic barriers, sustained a campaign that reshaped the European theatre. The operation's flexibility, adapting routes, integrating with rail and pipeline systems, and overcoming terrain and weather sets a precedent for future campaigns. For Patton and Hodges, the Red Ball buys critical time, allowing their armies to exploit German disarray before winter stalls the advance. German generals, once dismissive, face a compressed front, their forces unable to counter the Allies' logistical resilience. The corridor's closure marks not an end but a transition, its impact enduring in the rapid advance it enabled, and the men who made it possible their service a quiet rebuttal to the skeptics across the lines.